Caught on a one-way street, the taste of bittersweet. Love will survive somehow, some way. One love feeds the fire, one heart bears desire, one love who's crying now. Two hearts born to run, who'll be the lonely one? One love who's crying now. So many stormy nights, so many wrong or rights. Neither could change the headstrong ways. And if love was rage, then to another page. The fighting is worth the love they say. One love,
Definitely one of the greatest male singers of all time.
one heart bears desire, one love who's crying now. Two hearts born to run, who'll be the lonely one? One love who's crying.
Good evening, Candace, Fletch, Christy. Hello. It is 7:52 p.m. in the evening on Friday evening, December 12th, 2025. My name is Mark Kulak, a real person. I put on a show called Houstonic.live.
Your love will never die.
And I don't know why the song's been in my head lately. It's one of those, you can hear it in a movie or when you're out at the store. It could be playing over the loudspeaker when you're at a gas pump. You hear it somewhere and suddenly that's it, it's on.
Feeds the fire.
Hello, Fletch.
One heart bears desire, one love who's crying now.
Okay. So, I have a few bullet points. This is a recap show of the week, a recap of where we are at right now. A few new things to throw out there to recap. My name is Mark Kulak, Kulacz. I worked in the tech industry for 23 years, give or take. Some big companies, Dell, EMC, NetApp Corporation, Corporate Technologies, Data General. And it was the underreporting, non-reporting of the drug epidemic, the fatal drug overdose epidemic in the United States of America, that got myself more curious as to why it was being underreported and involved in this world of online research, archival analysis. My tagline under my name, Research Archival Overdose Awareness, may actually be eventually modified to Archival Analysis and Overdose Awareness. The word research it's a very loose word. What does that really mean? I mean, you know what it means. It's the process of learning and discovering things. But analysis is research combined with turning it into something that's actionable. Towards the end of my career, I was fortunate enough to become a competitive intelligence analyst, which sounds really like I'm going around and dumpster diving and stealing things. But being a competitive analyst is usually something that falls within the marketing department of a company. And it is about how to position and sell products. A lot of times it comes down to helping salespeople. Can you make it easy for them to understand a product's value? Can you make it easy for them to understand how to respond to objections and questions from customers? Can you help a lot of people learn that quickly and get up to speed? Because, companies, they want to sell. And I was fortunate enough that I usually work for companies that had good products. Maybe I was a good enough analyst that I knew where I needed to be working. So an analyst, you have to provide something that is going to help. Now, sometimes an analyst would help in a merger or an acquisition. An analyst could help in determining what a product should be sold for, pricing. Analysts can help in determining product roadmaps, all of these things, okay? But eventually you provide something that is useful. Otherwise, you're just compiling more and more information. And in this new realm of access to so many things online, it's very easy to lose track of that. And I think one of the reasons for that is because many things are being de-indexed, censored, scrubbed, etc. So sometimes I think we get caught up into these cycles of putting so much energy into finding things and collecting and organizing and archiving that we sometimes just forget, like, well, what are we doing this for? You need to turn it into something actionable. Something that I believe I've fallen short of is having, assets which I've manufactured, something that could be printed like an index card or whatever. Short pieces of information that people could then use, distribute, leave places to help them relay the message of the problem with the drug epidemic in the United States, for example. I think I've done a good job of making a lot of video shorts, which should have gone viral by now. And I know that's a mythology. But they should have caught fire or become way more visible, and they just haven't. I've been a little down over the last day, seeing how some of the most important things that I know I've done and I've captured have been so, to be honest, unremarkable in how little they've been viewed. I've interviewed a friend of mine, a woman named Cheryl Jouer, not to be confused, my wife, Cheryl, who lost 2 of her 3 sons to drug overdoses. And not only did she keep fighting, but she made it all the way to working with both the government of Massachusetts and even having, at least on 2 occasions, having sat down with President Trump, and has provided gifts for the other children who lost parents. She has been just a bull in the china shop. She has done so much with that loss. And I'm one of the only people to have ever interviewed her outside of maybe the New York Times and the Boston Globe. And no one really wants to see that interview. It is heartbreaking to see that there's more concern right now about the feelings and the protection of Candace Owens than there is in something which has taken 1 million lives. And I know that I've raised awareness enough. I've known that I've had output, and I know that there's people alive today that wouldn't be. I wish there was a lot more if I hadn't done what I've done. But I have moments of realizing, like, so it's just sad that so many people consider success to be views and clicks, having a good time, having some laughs, as opposed to talking about and helping out with something that's so serious. And it's the thing that got me involved in this as well. So one thing that Jonathan did today, first of all, he outlined a really good action plan. He spent his first few minutes on his program today, Jonathan Cooey, GigaOhm Biological, GigaOhm, biological.com. Highlighting that people need to start sharing it more. The algorithms will not work. I alone, I should say, with the exception of the massive history of intramuscular injection and the Human Genome Project, stuff that Jonathan Cooey talks about, represent more deaths than just about anyone else on social media. So the algorithms do not represent the value of someone's content. They do not represent it. They will never represent it. They are designed to bury my work. And I have so much work to do just between the archival and the analysis and the production and the management of my content that I guess I just keep hoping that somehow the next leg of the race will get carried somehow, that the algorithms I stupidly still think that somehow it'll break through, and they just won't. I need to keep reassessing that. But what I asked Jonathan to do in his show today, because he's done it's the last several shows, is he has a pitch. The 15-day checkmate, the 15-day experiment. One simple proposal which can resolve forever forever the debate, the dispute, and the disagreement about whether or not vaccines or specific vaccines cause injuries in children. He has a solution that everybody has missed, and I believe intentionally so. I think Jay knows it's intentionally so. Podcasters, politicians, pundits, scientists are all there to make sure people argue about the wrong things. That's their job, to kick the can down the road to some unspecific, and we're still trying to guess it ourselves, time. But they need to keep kicking it nonetheless. All they know is that you can't stop kicking it now. You need to keep kicking it. So I told Jay, take your idea. I know he said it before, relatively succinctly. But when you add in little extra things to it, it always goes more than 5 or 7 or 9 minutes. And I says, Jay, try to get it down to 4 minutes. I will then cut it down to 3, because 3 minutes is the maximum length of a YouTube short. I will take it and I will precision cut every little fraction of a second of silence or ums or false starts in a sentence, every extra tiny little thing that you said you didn't need to. I will cut it down. I will chisel it to 3 minutes and 0.000 seconds. And that's exactly what I did. I uploaded it as a YouTube short. The way it cropped, I don't like it, but it's just listening to it. 3-minute pitch. It's a 3-minute pitch. I put it on my server, my stream.houstonic.live. I will also put it on BitChute, Odyssey, and Rumble. It's 3 minutes that I've presented this to several people already. There is nobody who is pro-vaccine that would find this to be immediately a suspicious angle. There's nobody that's anti-vaccine that should find this to be a suspicious angle. This idea, this concept, can settle a debate which has raged for many decades, and potentially, if we are to believe that vaccines cause injury or intramuscular injections cause injuries and deaths and autism, has injured hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people. Millions. Or continue to put hundreds of thousands or millions of people at risk because there's this cult that doesn't believe in them. Whatever the case, this one idea resolves that. It is in a 3-minute video short. There's no excuses from now on for you to ever have a moment where you don't know how to resolve the vaccine safety issue in children. It's over as far as how to figure it out. It's over. It addresses everything. So I'm just going to play it here just so that you can appreciate it in line, okay?
There is a 15-day checkmate that either side could have presented in any point, and it would have been a checkmate. Like, you can win. If you think that SIDS is caused by vaccines, there's a 15-day experiment to prove it. If you think the MMR causes autism, there's a 15-day experiment that will prove it. And this experiment is one that both Paul Offit or Robert F. Kennedy Jr. could have proposed because of what they believe. Paul Offit believes that SIDS and autism is not caused by vaccines, and so a 15-day placebo-controlled trial on any and all vaccines nationwide should not be scary for him. It's just saline injections. And any doctor who you propose this to should be reasonably open to it, maybe even excited about it, because you could propose it as a way to make sure that my kid is never scared of vaccines. So let's make sure that they don't get sick and they don't get a headache and they don't get any of these weird side effects from the vaccines, which you will acknowledge are rare, by just bringing them in for the first time and give them a couple shots that are just saline so that there's not going to be any pain, there's not going to be any taste in their mouth, there's not going to be anything because we're sure that saline is fine. And then we'll come back in 15 days and we'll do the MMR booster and we'll do a flu shot. And then at least the kid won't be afraid because the last time they came here, it was just a little prick and it was fine. You got to actually go with it a little bit before the kids will believe. So why don't we just do it one foolproof time? What doctor could possibly object to that other than maybe you're wasting an hour of their time But if you make the argument correctly, it is an absolute checkmate. And the funny thing is that any of these autism moms that claim to have been fighting for justice for so long could have come up with it before me. Mary Holland has had 15 years. Brian Hooker, a former government scientist and biologist, has had 15 years to come up with this experiment and hasn't done it. He's gotten a book about vaxxed and unvaxxed kids, but he's unable to come up with an experiment that would end it once and for all. Paul Offit, who believes that you could inject a kid with 10,000 vaccines and they would be fine, has not thought of the 15-day checkmate and proposed it. Stanley Plotkin, his mentor, who has deposed for like 18 hours by Aaron Siri, couldn't come up with it. Aaron Siri could not come up with the 15-day checkmate placebo-controlled trial that has no ethical problems with letting 5 years of unvaccinated kids get measles and everything else. Instead, for 15 years, he's been arguing that if people want measles, they should be allowed to have measles.
Do not underestimate how much time it takes to get a message to be succinct and powerful. Companies spend millions and tens of millions of dollars to find people to pitch products and put ideas together in simple, succinct ways. This idea is worth millions and millions of dollars. In fact, millions should be spent to destroy every copy of this video. This 1 3-minute video, which wasn't much of my time, but it's mostly Jay's time, represents probably 10,000 hours of labor, of research, of archival, of analysis, built upon a career where he spent many, many thousands of hours to get a PhD, plus the fact that he's been working on it full time. Do not underestimate how many millions and millions of dollars that video and that idea is worth. Shame on you if you think some fundraiser for Candace Owens is the right thing to do for your money. This video here, which took the sacrifice and is a value of tens of millions of dollars and can save hundreds of thousands or millions of lives or avoid millions of autism injuries, if we are to believe the rates which we are told, is by far and away the best bang for your buck. If you have will money, if you have retirement money, if you have extra from your Social Security, this idea delivers it in gobs of saved lives and saved injuries. I hope you appreciate as much as I do what Jonathan Cooey has been able to manufacture here, what he's been able to produce. Something which organizations which have $20 to $30 million a year and staff of between 50 to 100 people could not manufacture over the course of a decade, could not get there. Think about that. Are you supporting the right people? Are you getting caught up in soap operas? Are you getting caught up in the pursuit of things which, the inverse, and I always say, look for the inverse. Look for when people say you need to focus on this one tragedy and give it 1,000 times more energy than 1,000,000 deaths collectively. When you see inverses like that being advocated, you know you are being misled. You are being bullied. Do not allow that. I'm thankful to have Jonathan Cooey's trust and friendship. Look, clock is ticking. No one knows that better than me. Do something with your money. Help out someone. Even if you don't like him, even if you don't like his hats, even if you don't like his voice, you don't like his music taste, whatever it is, you don't like his humor, you don't like Jonathan Cooey, whatever. You can despise him. But find another person that has delivered such a succinct, powerful idea which can save so many lives and advance this argument so vastly. Find me another person in Podcastville which has done something, delivered something like that. There is nobody else because other people are on a script. Speaking of Jonathan Cooey, he presented a book today. And again, I just have a few things like this to cover. This is basically my show. He presented this book today, The Complex Cube of Long-Term Care. Now, this is a real snoozer. You're going to want to die earlier if you actually have to read all of this stuff here. But rest assured, this is a well-funded, well-researched book that came out, I think it's in the late 70s or early 1980s, getting into the escalator of life, turning elder care into a predictable resource. Yeah, old people are expensive. Old people cost money. Old people are going to be living older and older and costing more and more money. This is going to be a drag on the economy. What are we going to do about this long-term complex problem that we know is coming? It's as certain as the sun is going to set and rise the next day right now. In full transparency, I've only skimmed through the book, and I actually don't plan to read the book right now. I may change my mind on that. I wanted to make sure I had a copy before I started to talk about it. Jonathan Cooey will probably do a better job reviewing this book and analyzing than I am. He is just a machine when it comes to book reading. I struggle because of my dyslexia, etc. Not looking for excuses, but it's the truth. Anyways, the reason why I found this book is because of the author, who only has like one other book out there. His name is William Oriol, Oriol, who's still alive. And he is the first husband of the mother-in-law of one of the former United States ambassadors to India, Richard Verma. I believe Richard Verma is a name that almost nobody knows. Actually, I know that's true. But I believe that it should be part of everybody's conversation because it's right up there with Robert Malone. In fact, coordinated with each other, had an interaction going all the way back to 1999 and 2000 at the Winberg Cancer Research Center in Pennsylvania, which is now known as the Patrick Soon-Shiong Cancer Research Center. And Richard Verma, he was either born in India or Canada. I can't get the answer straight, but he was the former ambassador to the United States ambassador to India during the, I think it was the second Obama administration. He then, years later, worked for the State Department. He was put in charge of economic recovery oversight for Ukraine. This is kind of a big deal considering everyone talks about Ukraine, but nobody knows who's calling the shots. Before becoming ambassador to India, he was the number 2 at the United States State Department under Hillary Clinton, who he's known for a long, long, long time. And then before that, he was a strategist, a national policy strategist to Harry Reid out in Nevada. He is a U.S. military lawyer, similar to regular guy was, who definitely interfered with both of our lives, but more so Jonathan Cooey's. Anyways, Richard Verma married a woman of Armenian ancestry, whose grandfather was one of the top assassins, I would say revenge assassinations against people in Turkey who were responsible for the Armenian genocide. It's kind of a big deal. There's like 3 or 4 names of main assassins from Armenia who were killing Turkish people. And one of them had a granddaughter who married this Richard Verma. That's fine. Now, this granddaughter, her mom, her first marriage was to this guy here, William Oriol. Now, it's a bunch of information I just threw out there. But let's add that to a couple of other things which we know. One is that most of the evidence that there was a deadly novel virus that came out of a lab leak in China actually came out of India. It's true. Nobody wants to talk about it. Totally true. And much of our diplomatic relations with India were advanced significantly and very much impacted by Richard Verma as ambassador, although that terminated definitely before the COVID-19 pandemic remained. But trust me, it's still at play here. He maintained a relationship with Modi, I believe. I believe there. If you consider the fact that Richard Verma worked for Hillary Clinton, and Hillary Clinton, when she was United States Secretary of State, then you'll realize, especially based upon what else I've shared lately, why that plays into this photo here. The woman circled, her name is Zoe Weiner, Weiner. Zoe Weiner considered the White House a second home. She spent so much time at the White House because her dad, Mark Weiner, was one of the top all-time fundraisers for the DNC and even manufactured in Rhode Island and handled the sale of a lot of, T-shirts and buttons and flags and everything else for the DNC and, fist rallies and whatever the case. Her dad goes all the way back to the Carter administration. Matter of fact, her dad, Mark Weiner, passed in 2016, was the godfather of all of Jesse Jackson's grandchildren. Her dad was working for Hillary Clinton all the way back since 1976 in the presidential campaign to happen in Indiana to get Carter elected. Point is, her dad, with that level of relationship with Hillary Clinton almost considers her a niece. So Hillary Clinton, I can find photos on Zoe Weiner's Instagram of her with Hillary Clinton almost every year of her life. That's how close she was with Hillary Clinton. They went shopping together regularly. And she's the person that Candace Owens starts a company with. Candace Owens starts a company with a woman whose dad is that wrapped up in the DNC, with a woman who spends her childhood growing up in the White House with the Clintons. The same Clinton who made the number 2 at her State Department, Richard Verma, along with Uma Abedin. Uma Abedin attended the funeral of Mark Weiner because Uma Abedin, of course, is also friends with Candace Owens' business partner. And between Richard Verma, between Mark Weiner, now deceased, Mark Weiner's other collaborator in the state of Rhode Island, Ira Magaziner, who's recently been announced to be in the Jeffrey Epstein files, how is it possible that Candace Owens could have all this DNC, Clinton money, Clinton cash, State Department around her, and nobody talks about it? We need to protect Candace. And what would have been the father-in-law of that man who married Richard Verma, who was the oversight of economic recovery of Ukraine, who was the United States ambassador to India, would have been this guy. So I put out there the possibility. Did the United States diplomatic relations with India have some role going back decades, which was going to assist some people in the United States government to murder people? Because you know what? Whatever Candace Owens is suffering from right now, getting chased around by saying that Macron's wife has balls or something like that, we are looking at the reality that several 100,000 people or 1 million people were murdered in the United States of America, murdered during COVID-19, murdered with losing control of the flu, murdered with lies about there being a deadly novel virus, murdered by not being able to talk about laced, I should say, opioids and repressed pills on the street, Xanax that had fentanyl in it somehow, murdered through supplemental oxygen, murdered to not only provide a vehicle for Moderna to be approved and other mRNA vaccines, but murdered also to deal with a population problem which was seen 40 to 50 years ago. And it just so happens that Zoe Weiner's business partner at this social autopsy right now is controlling all the conversation in the United States of America. It just so happens that much of our fentanyl comes from India. It just so happens that other lying, deceitful, bastards, podcasters and researchers, citizen journalists in the United States of America blame the opioid epidemic on Pakistan, the enemy of India. That's odd, isn't it? But it gets better. Because let's go back to this photo here. Because there's a lot going on in this photo here. It gets better because I believe if there's one thing that Charlie Kirk said or did, which would have merited him to be removed from the stage, it would have been causing a significant rift in the relationship, the diplomatic relationship between the United States and India. The same India where this Richard Verma, previous father-in-law, would have been him, is involved. Now, let's build on this, okay? Because that's exactly what Charlie Kirk did on May 8th, 2025. Again, it's a data point that most people don't like to talk about. They just want you focused on the fact that the 30-6, whatever, I'm not a weapons expert, would have blown his neck off. Well, no shit, Sherlock. What are you suggesting? 30 people are just all casually and comfortably involved in a murder cover-up? Or maybe he didn't get killed. It doesn't line up. And then Candace Owens the other day goes off on Erika Kirk because Erika Kirk attended a swearing-in ceremony in the United States Capitol for, of all the people, of all the offices, of all the positions that one could dream of, it was for the new United States ambassador to India, the guy who has the same job that Richard Verma once had. Richard Verma, a name that people are paid to never mention. You can tell who's your friend and who isn't by their willingness to just say Richard Verma. They won't. This Talk magazine, which is on the screen here. There's someone, I'm not going to say the name, you know who you are if you're watching this, has provided some really good videos of Tina Brown, who is one of the co-managers of it, along with Harvey Weinstein. And I didn't know that the naked photos of Melania Trump being on Air Force One were initially published in Talk magazine. Especially interesting right now, given how everyone is going after Melania and Trump and everything else. Yes, the primary financial support came from Harvey Weinstein. The only person to have an interview with Harvey Weinstein in the last 8 years is Candace Owens. Harvey Weinstein fully admits he's known Candace Owens for years. Probably since 2012 to 2014. I'm still trying to figure out which private equity company Candace Owens went to. I'm not real sure yet. There's some photos going around about Candace Owens unable to pay her rent because she had persistent vaginal fungus or something like that. Something weird. She's blaming it on her apartment. Just disgusting stuff. I consider that to be a little bit over the line, but look, the way she is consuming time right now and everything, sorry. More people died today because the issues which should have been at the top of everyone's list didn't get visibility. And it's not Candace, it's the people who've hired Candace, which I think include the Steve Bannon, Harvey Weinstein network. Candace Owens made her breakout video where she pretends to be coming out as a conservative on July 9th, 2017. Exactly the same day that somebody decided to spray paint and deface the Confederate statues in Charlottesville. She then did a video that she doesn't care about the KKK or white supremacy. One of her early discoverers was Milo Yiannopoulos. Milo Yiannopoulos was one of the last people she talked to before Charlie Kirk died. Milo Yiannopoulos now on with Tucker. She's talking to Tucker. Tucker Carlson worked with Harvey Weinstein, worked for Harvey Weinstein, going all the way back in 1999 and talk. When you see Tucker Carlson, I'm sorry, direct line to Harvey Weinstein. I know you don't want to picture it. A direct line to Harvey Weinstein. They're all on the same team. Harvey Weinstein, Steve Bannon, Milo Yiannopoulos. I don't know about Cernovich. Same team. Tucker Carlson, same team. It's all the same team. One of the top all-time supporters also was Harvey Weinstein, meaning Harvey Weinstein, definitely a friend, without question, of Mark Weiner and most likely Zoe Weiner as well, almost undoubtedly. She goes Costco shopping with Hillary Clinton. Impossible, not also a Harvey Weinstein friend. This is how deep in this that Candace Owens is. And, of course, there's the whole ambassador position. Yes, Milo Yiannopoulos then gets sued over what? Evidence that he had about Charlottesville? You don't think that Candace Owens being told to do her videos and act out, coming out as a conservative and saying she doesn't care about the Klan, or David Duke, you don't think that stuff is also scripted? On the timeline, it fits in perfectly with that death in Charlottesville. The last thing I was going to say is people need to stop attacking Erika Kirk. Unless you think that Erika Kirk somehow subverted the whole of the global government so she could get some money from Turning Point USA, you need to lay off Erika Kirk. I, for one, apologize for being skeptical of what Erika Kirk said early on. If there's anyone here as a victim, it's Erika Kirk. Here's the deal. When I say that I'm skeptical of Charlie Kirk being dead, that is not to be interpreted as some type of joke. If he had to be taken off the stage, he can't just pop up somewhere. That means he needs to live in a new place, under a new name, probably cosmetic surgery. His family needs to move. The identities of his children need to move. His wife needs to move. The rest of their entire lives is going to be having to deal with upheaval and effery. Their whole lives are screwed if Charlie Kirk had to be put into witness protection because he was going to be killed. Erika Kirk's life is turned upside down. She wants it over. Or her husband really was killed, in which case her life is turned upside down. It's one or the other. There is no alternative here unless you somehow believe that a couple of Jews and Erika Kirk and Turning Point managed to pull off the greatest assassination in the history of the last 100 years, JFK aside, so that she could make a few dollars, or her father-in-law or some bullshit like that can make some money selling guns, or a French family that has some land permits going back 200 effing years in the United States of America somehow still control the whole globe. Erika Kirk is a victim. And I, as a really chivalrous person who knows how to put it on the line and say it like it is, say that you weak, cowardly, worthless people who continuously go after Erika Kirk need to lay off of her. She's the victim. She's not the person who's having to say that she can't pay her rent because she has persistent vaginal fungus after getting a career start from Harvey Weinstein. Candace Owens is that person. That's my Friday night show. Love you.